summarize at the end, I think probably, I think what you and Angela are saying, and maybe there are more of us inclining it, and I will argue that on the other side. Okay, if I will be in Miss Wade's side, I will argue this, and I think what Francis and Angela suggest, it's like the life of a showgirl. It's a general, all-encompassing umbrella. I will look at that, and confession is a subset of that. It's something. It's kind of coming and eating up that subset of the meaning, right? It's a meaning. It's a signal. They send the signal. But the life of a showgirl, it comes and eats up and takes over that. But I want to go back to Angela. I think, and by the way, we can disagree here. That's, absolutely. You don't have to agree with me, because that's not the point of this discussion. So, the Google searches, I think it's very interesting. The point, I think we need to revisit that for a second. So the law says likelihood of confusion referring to the public, right? Not to the Google algorithm. But the public goes on Google, right? They want to search for Miss Wade, right? They want to search, and they type in confession of a showgirl, and nothing comes up. Only the life of a showgirl comes up, right? The public doing the searches gets confused, right? Because if the public are not very familiar with Taylor Swift, for, let's say, there are members of the public that may not be aware of the life of a showgirl, Taylor Swift, whatever. They really want to search for Miss Wade for some reason, and they will only see this the Miss Taylor Swift trademark. They may think, maybe it's the same thing. I'm gonna click on this website and go to this website and buy this T-shirt, because probably it's the same thing. Maybe Miss Wade expanded her business, so they can get confused online. The public can get confused when doing these Google searches. So that's probably what the complaint is trying to articulate.
Initially, I think I agree that confessions and life does seem, they just have a different impression to me. I think, like Angela was saying, something secretive about confessions. Life is just kind of more general than that. I think Francis did bring up a good point, though, where there is definitely overlap. It's not two completely different concepts. There is the Venn diagram, as you say. I think like the memoirs example is actually really interesting, because it's like a fusion. It's like a telling of the life, but also potentially confessing. So it's like, obviously that's not the word that's at issue here, but that made me think about it. I also think it's interesting that we are focusing on the first word, because in the office action, the examiner does assert that the public is going to be more focused on showgirl and confuse the marks because of that. In my personal opinion, as someone who's assisted with the preparation of trademark applications and who's done reviews of trademark office actions, I'm really surprised that the of a showgirl portion of the marks is not disclaimed in either of them. Especially in Confessions of a Showgirl, it seems like Miss Wade is a showgirl, and so therefore her shows of her being a showgirl is kind of what she's offering. It seems descriptive in that sense. So I'm pretty surprised that the of a showgirl part is even part of the mark that got registered and is not disclaimed. Same thing with Taylor Swift. She's not a showgirl per se, but she is a girl and she does put on shows. So I feel like the examiners at the USPTO, I've seen them call things like that descriptive before. So I think we kind of do need to look at that first word more than showgirl, because to me, the showgirl part seems descriptive, but obviously that's not something the USPTO has considered at this point.
In general, the first word in a phrase like this, in what we call a compound mark, because it has more elements, more words, the first term is, generally speaking, considered the dominant term, unless it's descriptive or somehow it has lower significance than other terms. The Taylor Swift legal team will start to argue, hey, no, the life is the dominant term because it's the first term in the mark, and this is the general rule, and a lot of case law on that point. And it's not descriptive. So why don't you look at that term as being the dominant term, not the showgirl? And that's a very good point, Emily. I mean, you could possibly argue that showgirl is descriptive, but it may be risky for Taylor Swift to argue that as well, right? Because that will weaken their bargain. You could argue it's suggestive. So probably that's what the examiner, and the lawyers on either side thought, hey, it's suggestive but not descriptive. So anyway, Katie, what do you think?
I agree with Emily in that respect of like they are completely different terms where I would not in any scenario confuse life or confession. And in my head, I feel like showgirl is kind of less important, like less prominent of the mark of like relating like books of like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or like Diary of Anne Frank. Like there's a lot of words that a lot of things in general that share one similar word, and showgirl is the only similar respective like piece of both marks that I feel like are similar. And in my opinion, not a single person is going to confuse Life of a Showgirl with Confessions of a Showgirl. I do see the point of like drowning out Miss Wade's like history or drowning out her like life that she's built or is unfair just because she probably has worked so hard to build that name up and to ensure that people know her for, oh, Miss Wade is associated with Confessions of a Showgirl. But I think in the legal standpoint of showgirl should not be the dominant term because it's not the first thing you think of. It'd be Confessions of like Confessions of a Shopaholic. That's a movie. Is Confessions of Shopaholic going to be confused with Confessions of Showgirl? So I am siding with Miss Swift on this one.
Who thinks Taylor Swift is going to win this lawsuit, assuming it's going to go all the way to trial?
Assuming it goes to trial.
Are we sticking together, Angela? Or what do you...
I don't know. I can't say for sure. So I'm kind of unwilling to, to vote, I guess.
I'll take that long gamble though. The odds are low, but the payout will be big.